And we continue at 1:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, we are just an hour and a half away from our annual retelling of the spooky classic, The Witch Who Stole Halloween.
I have a hard time understanding.
Oh, gather the children. They're going to love it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is a prosecutor at the L.A. County District Attorney's Office and was a candidate for L.A. County District Attorney in the last election. You can get him online at jonathanhatami.com and follow him on X at Jonathan Hatami. Jon Hatami, welcome.
Welcome, John. Thank you for having me, and happy Halloween to you and to your listeners.
Well, thanks so much for stopping by today. So let's start out talking about this story that the LA Times now has that Jennifer Van Laar over at Red State has been reporting on for some time. And that is that there are now text messages that exist within the LAFD where on-the-line firefighters told the leadership that the fire was not fully extinguished, a fire that was an independent fire that was allegedly started by a guy who was driving for Uber after he had a meltdown in the car, went off on Donald Trump, went off on girls not willing to date him. Well, there was a driver in the back seat, and then he allegedly started this fire. The fire was, according to the LA Fire Department, extinguished. But members of the fire department told leadership, no, it's not fully extinguished. It's still going. It's still going underground. And they believe that they should not have moved on from it. They ended up moving on. And according to the feds, that fire then became the fire that destroyed the Pacific Palisades. An arrest was made by the federal government. And now they're charging this alleged arsonist with arson, not just for the fire that he started, but for the fire in Pacific Palisades. I'm sure his criminal defense attorney is going to have a field day with all of these text messages that members of the fire department themselves said that that fire wasn't fully extinguished. So how can you blame the alleged arsonist if it was the fire department that didn't do their job? I would imagine that when a city is run as poorly as Los Angeles is, where the mayor wasn't even here when the fire was going on, and now we have these text messages, it almost makes the job for prosecutors impossible to defend this sort of behavior and this sort of level of government that we're receiving here, where maybe the criminal defense attorney does have a point, and the city of Los Angeles and their incompetence is more at fault than the arsonist himself. Your thoughts?
I mean, you're right, John. And here's the thing: I always tell people, the murderer is ultimately responsible. The arsonist is ultimately responsible. The criminal who's committing the crime is ultimately responsible. But government's number one job is public safety. Their number one job is protecting the public, protecting all of us. And LA has completely failed in that mission, completely. We had a mayor who was, in a different continent. We have a governor who cares more about Trump than he cares about the safety of his own residents here in California. We have leadership that's completely failed all of us, and they don't really care about the safety of the Palisades, the safety of any of us here in Los Angeles. And so clearly you have a failed leadership from top to bottom. And so, it's sad that so many residents suffer as a result of criminals who are allowed to run rampant and do horrible things. And our government is not protecting individuals, is not doing their main job, which is protecting all of us. And so, we need to fix what's happening here in California, here in Los Angeles. We need to start voting for individuals who actually care about all of us and care about protecting all of us instead of actually care about covering up things, lacking transparency, and really, supporting and doing everything they can to help criminals.
What's wild to me is if the city's initial response is CYA, they're not trying to fix it so that you don't have something like this happen in the future. And by doing that, they're putting all of us at risk, all of us in danger of another fire like this taking place. I mean, go back to the 10 freeway for a minute. That freeway was melted due to arson, according to the government. The government said it was an act of arson. No arrests have been made. No one's been prosecuted for that crime. Allegedly, the person was on video. They still don't have that person. It seems like the fire risk that we're experiencing is greater today than it was back then, despite the fact that we've learned where the points of failure were. We're not fixing it.
I mean, John, you're right. So here's the thing. In Los Angeles, nobody in leadership wants to fix anything. They cover up everything. They pay these large settlements for people to go away, and nothing ever gets fixed. They can't fix the Department of Children and Family Services. They can't fix problems that are happening with fires. They can't fix the homeless situation. They can't fix issues regarding crime. They don't fix anything. We have a government that just lacks transparency, that spends money like it's going out of style on all sorts of waste, that doesn't even know where half their money goes to. They don't support fire. They don't support our law enforcement, and they're never here trying to fix anything. All they care about is their next job, getting voted for their next job, hiring their friends and giving them high-paying jobs, and then paying off individuals through lawsuits without ever fixing a single thing. Here in Los Angeles, that's how come things end up continually getting worse and worse and worse.
You mentioned that Gavin Newsom is more obsessed with Donald Trump than he is doing his job. That is something that is certainly true, but it's not unique to Gavin Newsom. The mayor of Los Angeles is doing the same thing. Members of the council, members of the state legislature, they're obsessed with what's going on in Washington, and they don't seem to have much of an interest to take care of state and local government here in California, and it's suffering because of that. What do you think is behind this impulse to only care about federal issues and to really not have any interest at all in the functions of government that fall under their umbrella?
Because they're failures. They're failing in all sorts of areas here in Los Angeles. And so all they can do is try to blame Trump to try to get people to think more about that than about their failures. They can't make our community safer, so they blame Trump. They can't deal with the immigration crisis, so they blame Trump. They can't fix the homeless crisis, so they blame Trump. They can't fix poverty and the fact that housing prices are enormous where no one even buy a house, so they blame Trump. They can't fix, any type of issue, our fire issue, they can't fix, so they blame Trump. The fact that our police department or fire department's demoralized, they blame Trump. Any little thing that they're a failure at, and they're a failure at so many different things. So many things are wrong here in Los Angeles that the only thing they think about doing is blaming Trump and getting people focused on Trump. Prop 50 is the same thing. Political gerrymandering is bad for anybody. And what they do is they have it focused on Trump, make it a referendum on him, because they're just failed leaders. They don't know how to fix any problem. I don't really think they even care about fixing problems. They just care about getting their next job, keeping the power that they have, and bringing their friends into these jobs and making money and keeping money, but not really caring about the general day-to-day living conditions of Angelenos, which actually affects people more than national issues. Local issues are so much more important to the day-to-day family operations of people than national issues.
Earlier this week, Gavin Newsom was on a podcast where he talked about being a supporter of the recall of Chesa Boudin, who is the Soros DA in San Francisco. We've also learned in the campaign for governor that Antonio Villaraigosa, the former mayor of L.A., said that he was a vocal supporter of Prop 36. Katie Porter, the former congresswoman from Orange County, said the same thing. You spent a lot of time, obviously, campaigning against these soft-on-crime DAs in California. You spent a lot of time advocating for Prop 36. Do you recall, as someone who was deeply involved in those worlds, do you ever recall Gavin Newsom coming out against the Soros DAs, including Chesa Boudin in San Francisco, or Antonio Villaraigosa and Katie Porter campaigning on behalf of Prop 36? Because as someone who covered all of these races very closely, I don't recall that ever happening, but that's what they're saying now.
mean, John, and I say it how I say it, all these individuals are straight up liars. It's just not true. Gavin Newsom brought George Gascon to San Francisco as the police chief, supported him when he became the DA of San Francisco, helped him get reelected, and then helped him become the DA of Los Angeles, destroying both San Francisco and Los Angeles. And they both supported Chesa Boudin taking over for George Gascon. That was part of them. That was their issue. This is the same governor that supported open-air drug markets in San Francisco when he was the mayor. And he has done nothing to help Prop 36. Katie Porter is another one. I mean, oh my gosh. You're talking about individuals who refuse to help us at all get George Gascon out of Los Angeles, refuse to speak out against that, where people were being victimized, they were being robbed, their homes were being burglarized, their communities and business were being taken over. And I don't remember any of those individuals helping to try to get George Gascon out, or speaking out against him, or doing press conferences, or helping when we were trying to pass Prop 36. They would rather have more individuals stealing things and being addicted to drugs and being homeless on the side of the street than actually trying to do something to help individuals. And so, Newsom is just classic. And any time that he does something, he always comes back and says, oh, I didn't do that. And you can't keep track of all the lies of all these individuals. They just lie nonstop. At the end of the day, all these individuals care about is becoming governor or becoming president. They just care about keeping their power, and they care about lying to the general public and manipulating voters and staying in power and just doing the same exact thing they've been doing for years.
Newsom campaigned up and down the state against Prop 36. The voters saw it differently. Prop 36 was passed with overwhelming support, including in all 58 California counties. Is Gavin Newsom trying to kill it in a backdoor sort of way right now by not fully funding it?
100%. You know what happens, Newsom, when he gets mad, if you do something he doesn't like, he does everything in his power to smash that. And so Prop 36 was supported by almost 70% of Californians. It's a good law. It does get people back into drug court, gets them into drug treatment programs, gets individuals off the street. It deals with fentanyl and fentanyl poisoning. It helps protect children. It protects businesses, and deals with repeat offenders regarding, the amount of theft we had for the last 4 or 5 years that plagued Los Angeles County and really hurt businesses. And so it's a good law that was supported by the overwhelming majority of people. It does provide public safety. The problem is Newsom's the type of person who believes in open air drug markets. He believes in giving people smoking devices. He believes in allowing people to use drugs instead of actually trying to help individuals get off of drugs and get better. And so, this is what he's doing. And he does this with anything. If you try to do anything against him, he will do anything he can to turn around and smash you. And he's doing that with Prop 36.
In California, we've been quite successful at getting rid of these Soros DAs. We did it in San Francisco with Chesa Boudin. We did it in Alameda County with Pamela Price. We did it in Los Angeles County with George Gascon. When one of them tried to take out the DA of Orange County, Todd Spitzer, that candidate was defeated by double digits. However, in New York City right now, it looks like a socialist candidate for mayor is likely to be elected as the next mayor of New York City. He is run on a platform that looks eerily similar to what George Gascon and others ran on here in California, that includes things like no cash bail, defunding the police, those sorts of things. Are you worried that if he wins in a landslide on Tuesday, which the polls say will happen, that sort of mentality and that brand of socialism is going to spread back to California, and we may think that we defeated it here, but it's going to come back from the dead?
100%. You know what happens, John, is people forget. And they forget how hard it was for us here in Los Angeles, how difficult it was in Oakland, and how difficult it was in San Francisco, and how people felt so unsafe. I was born in New York City. I have family that lives in New York City. This is crazy. This individual is not good for the people of New York City, no matter what political party you belong to. Everybody deserves to be safe. When you support criminals over supporting the everyday person. That's not somebody you want to vote to be your mayor. When you don't support law enforcement, don't support first responders, that's not somebody you want to be your mayor. When you are racially discriminatory towards individuals, that's not somebody you want to be your mayor. And so, I hate to tell people, but, they seem to forget too often and vote for individuals that are really, really bad people. And then all of a sudden, for the next 2, 3, 4 years, we all suffer. And it's sad because most of these wealthy individuals, they don't. They have guards, they have this, they have that, they have drivers. We don't have any of that. And so the everyday person, the everyday New Yorker, the everyday Angelino, who just wants to be safe, just wants to live in a safe neighborhood and a safe home, suffers because you get these politicians that do not care about any of us. And they end up, wreaking havoc. And all of a sudden, everything becomes unsafe. And people just don't want to live in a place like that. And they don't want to raise their children in a place like that. So I hope the New Yorkers, realize that this individual is not a good person and is not good for New York City. And I hope people in Los Angeles and Oakland and San Francisco just don't forget of all the pain and suffering we went through by these DAs and others who believe that the criminal was more important than the everyday person who's law-abiding and who just loves America and wants to live in a safe environment and raise their family.
What's wild to me is they just tried this experiment in Chicago with the socialist mayor, and now he's sitting at single-digit approval ratings, and now they're about to do it in New York City. It's mind-boggling.
No, John, people just forget. That's the problem and politicians just lie. They go around talking about defunding the police, and then they turn around and say, oh, I didn't say that. They talk about open air drug markets, and then they say, oh, I didn't say that. They talk about, killing races or religions, and then they turn around and say, oh, I didn't say that. No, these people are who they are. And, they lie constantly, and they really only care about their own personal power. They don't care about the safety of all of us. And there's a lot of them, and they're backed by, big money. And, these individuals are just really horrible people for our society. And it's too bad that, most of us in the United States are good people, and we want to look at the good in everyone. But we can't forget when politicians take charge and they do everything in their power to hurt individuals who are just good people, who just want to live a peaceful life, that want to raise a family, that follow the law and don't break the law. People who commit crimes should be prosecuted. That's how it works. You need to be punished for things that you do, and that sets a deterrent. And you need to do that also for justice for victims, and you need to do it also to make sure our community's safe. We're a country of laws. And so it's really disappointing that people forget. It's really disappointing that you see radicals in so many positions of power. John, even here, our state legislature up in Sacramento, some of these individuals are crazy, and they don't really care about any of us. And so, the big cities really need to look inside themselves and actually start voting for people who care about the community and want to make it safer for everyone.
Jon Hatami, prosecutor at the LA County District Attorney's Office. You can get him online at jonathanhatami.com and follow him on X at Jonathan Hatami. Jon Hatami, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And now that we've hit the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening after we sign off at 3, Randy, that's easy to do.
Like, let's say when you heard Jon Hatami mention the name Katie Porter, you want to figure out who that is.
Hey, hello, everybody.
Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts.
Please.
Whether it's the Apple Podcasts app,
Little D.
iHeart,
No.
Spotify.
I call it the shift gift.
Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Or you can get the KABC, KSFO, or KMJ Now app.
Paul!
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes Iron Maiden, the Run for Your Lives World Tour 2026 at the BMO Stadium, September 25th, 2026. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing.
All right, it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
All right, Randy, this edition takes us to the city by the bay.
In the Mission, a restaurant owner was minding his business when a stabbing occurred. For more, here's KTVU, Fox 2 in the Bay.
She said, no, give me the knife. I said,
This is the first stabbing we've done that hasn't involved public transit in a long time.
she said, no, give me the knife. I say, no, I cannot give you the knife because you already hurt me.
It's quite a convo.
To be a fly on the wall.
She said, no, give me the knife. I say, no, I cannot give you the knife because you already hurt me. You almost killed me.
Tonight, the victim says he feels lucky to be alive. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Meebeck.
And I'm Claudine Wong. The attack happened over the weekend at a mid-market restaurant. And tonight, there is new surveillance video showing the moment the confrontation turned violent.
New at 10, KTVU's Betty Yu, live tonight in San Francisco with more on this terrifying ordeal. Betty.
Mike, the owner says that he was just inches from death. He says he is so incredibly lucky to be alive. Remarkably, he went back to work the same day with only minor injuries.
That is dedication, or he doesn't have PTO.
The owner of Shawarma Azmi, a Middle Eastern restaurant on 6th Street, says the violence began just after 7:30 p.m. Saturday, after he asked this woman and her friends to leave, saying he witnessed drug activity inside.
What, were they mething it up before they had a pita?
That's the appetizer, huh?
Inside. The confrontation escalated and moved to the kitchen, where the woman grabbed a knife and began stabbing him repeatedly, narrowly missing his eyes.
Holy cow!
This is what happens when you don't take the crazy people and put them in institutions. They end up in your restaurant.
Azmi Marate, who was the only person working, says he fought back with whatever he could grab. What were you feeling and thinking in that moment?
I only think about my family.
The father of 3 stepped away as he teared up thinking about his kids. He says he recognizes the woman. She often uses his tables and restroom, but doesn't buy anything.
Of course.
Okay, in the old days, you would shoo that person away. They wouldn't even be allowed in your restaurant, but I guess now they're afraid of accusations of discrimination or whatever.
He says he
Well, you remember all the flack that gallery owner got when he sprayed the homeless woman with a hose who wouldn't get off his porch.
Well, I think all of this started with a Starbucks in Philadelphia when they were kicking people out who weren't buying anything, and they alleged discrimination. And then Starbucks said, okay, we won't kick you out if you're not buying something anymore. And that just spread like wildfire around the country, and this is what you end up with.
Well, and that turned Starbucks bathrooms into the reputation that it has today, where it has a rating of, I think I'll hold it.
He says he recognizes the woman. She often uses his tables and restroom, but doesn't buy anything.
If I saw anybody dealing with the drugs, no matter who he is, get out of my restaurant.
Azmi says he first tried to scare her off with a lighter, but she grabbed the knife.
Wait, what did he try to do with the lighter?
He tried to scare her off with a lighter?
I don't think that's the right move here.
Maybe if he had a blowtorch.
We talking like one of those kitchen lighters, the long ones that you use to light a stove?
Yeah, I don't think that would scare off someone who's on meth.
Get out of my restaurant.
Azmi says he first tried to scare her off with a lighter, but she grabbed the knife.
You imagine this as just brandishing a Bic.
I'm going to take care of you and your Duraflame log.
It's actually good knife, you know. Then I start protecting myself like this.
He used a colander to shield himself. After he managed to wrestle the knife away, she grabbed a knife sharpener, a second knife, and demanded money.
Whoa!
Well, this fight is involving everything he had in the kitchen. Did he hit her with a side of beef next?
This assault on a restaurateur brought to you by Sur La Table.
He used a colander to shield himself. After he managed to wrestle the knife away, she grabbed a knife sharpener, a second knife, and demanded money. That's when
Is this like one of those grindstones? Because those things could do some damage.
He should have used an egg beater and turned it on.
That's when Azmi says he ran, locking her inside the restaurant. He says SFPD arrived shortly after and took the woman into custody.
I still can't believe you're standing here with minimal injuries.
As you see on the videos, 1 second you can lose your life.
While we were there Tuesday night, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie stopped by unannounced after seeing the video. Azmi shared frustrations.
This is something that Lurie's been doing a lot lately. He can't stop all the crime, but when something outrageous occurs, he at least tries to show up and apologize.
This sounds like every professional wrestling match involving Terry Funk.
Azmi shared frustrations over slow police response times and the struggle of supporting his family.
I was just talking to him about his kids, and I want him to feel safe conducting his business. I want him to be successful, and I want him to get home to his 3 kids.
So what are we doing to make sure Knifey gets put away for a very long time?
Yeah, that's going to be tough for him to do when you have meth addicts stabbing him in his restaurant.
As for the suspect,
my message is like, no matter what's your situation, you have no right to hurt somebody.
It's a fair motto.
Yeah, well, the meth says otherwise.
And the owner added that before the woman and her friends left, they also stole cash and speakers and knocked over his equipment.
It is the equivalent of a wild animal set loose inside your establishment.
You cannot have civilized society with these people here, too. They have to be in institutions. If you were that severely mentally ill, you do not belong walking the streets. You do not belong in this man's restaurant. Someone is going to get killed.
The owner said he was really moved by Daniel Lurie's surprise visit. Lurie said that he would be hiring more officers, but of course, that won't happen overnight. Mike?
Yeah, 6th and Mission. I mean, it's been a rough few years coming out of the pandemic there in that neighborhood. Has he thought about moving the restaurant, or is he locked in at that location?
I'm sure he's thought about it.
Good question.
Well, he says people always ask him, why don't you just move? And he said it's simply not that simple. He's poured his whole life into running this eatery, invested hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it would be very difficult to move. And he said he is committed to this neighborhood, Mike.
And besides this incident, has he noticed the neighborhood getting better?
He did tell Daniel Lurie he's thankful that the streets do look cleaner, but still the police response times are still too slow.
All right, Betty, you live tonight in San Francisco. Betty, thank you for that.
And hiring takes a really long time, and it's incredibly difficult. This is a statewide problem where, you have people graduate from these academies, and all of a sudden there's a bidding war, like they're coming out of the combine for college football, and you have neighboring cities offering bonuses to not be in a place like San Francisco.
This also shows you how Orwellian things are in a one-party state, where this guy was almost killed by a drug addict in his restaurant, and he was forced to say at the end, yeah, things are getting better in San Francisco.
Well, when he walks to work, he probably feels safer. He just doesn't feel safer at work.
He wasn't being stabbed during that interview.
It's an
improvement.
That's progress. We're moving in the right direction, slowly.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. And Randy, it's time to reopen the crime blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this one involves a muscle car.
Someone stole a muscle car. That's all I got. For more, here is ABC 7 Eyewitness News in Los Angeles. And of course, if it's ABC 7 Eyewitness News in Los Angeles, it might just be a Mark Brown.
Now, only on ABC 7, Gone in 60 Minutes. Perplexed perps break into a SoCal garage trying to steal a coveted muscle car.
He's the best.
What an intro.
Naked and unafraid and just a feet away from the Beverly Hills border. As the tents go up, the clothes come off, and now outraged locals are fighting back against the nudity, narcotics, and negative impact on their businesses.
He's the best.
Can't beat it.
Now, only on ABC 7, Gone in 60 Minutes. Perplexed perps break into a SoCal garage trying to steal a coveted muscle car. Then they spend the next hour trying to get it out. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Fisher live with the story. Michelle.
Well, Mark, the owner of this Dodge Charger tells us that these vehicles do have a 60% higher theft rate. But still, he says the neighborhood he lives in here in Studio City is safe, and he never thought this would happen to him.
You know, that's one of those things the insurance companies love to tell you. Oh, your car's commonly stolen. We're going to jack up your rates.
This is another one where you have the victim of a crime and they go on TV and they go, oh, yeah, it's safe here.
I mean, you got to lure yourself into some kind of false sense of security. Otherwise, you'd pull your hair out or move.
I guess.
I got the phone call at 6 a.m. in the morning by the manager. The manager said, your car got stolen.
It's a wake-up call Stefan Wendell says he never expected. First hearing the news, then seeing these surveillance videos. Thieves stealing his 2017 Dodge Charger Daytona 392 from the shared garage of the Studio City apartment building that he's lived in for almost 20 years.
It's amazing how...
Yeah, there's no good security in those buildings.
No.
It's amazing how they got the car started. I have my keys, right? I have two of my keys. Here's the key. Here's one of my keys. And I have another key here. So I don't know how they...
He wants to make sure that you're aware that this isn't some kind of like he left keys in the glove box situation. They hotwired his ass.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how they did it.
Also unclear is how these guys gained access to the building's garage in the first place around 4:30 Tuesday morning. Getting in, however, proving easier than getting out.
We do not have clickers. We have an access code. So they had the car ready, but they couldn't leave. They were searching my vehicle, the trunk, everything for like a clicker to open the gate, but they couldn't.
And all this ruckus is going on for over an hour and nobody in the building notices?
At what point do you just say, okay, I know something's going on, but I'm really comfy right now in bed?
After more than an hour, a neighbor in the building returns home from the gym. Out on the street, you see a white car pull up. Two people quickly walk into the garage, and within seconds, you see Wendell's Charger Daytona pull out. But the quick-thinking neighbor was right behind them.
She gave chase. So she followed the guys for a while. From here down to Ventura and then up to Tujunga. But then they floored it, and then she lost them.
But not before getting these.
Would you do that? If your neighbor's car got stolen, would you chase the people who stole the car?
No.
Assuming they have weapons?
I would never. I would call the police, but I'm not getting involved that much because, yes, the thieves that we see that are stealing cars like this are incredibly dangerous.
Under no circumstance would I chase the person.
But not before getting these pictures of the white Acura and license plate involved. Wendell optimistic, hoping the surveillance images and his neighbor's actions will help find his beloved vehicle. As an immigrant who came to the U.S. from Germany in 1998, he says he's always loved American cars.
About 17 to 18,000 cars are stolen in L.A. every year.
That's totally ridiculous.
Okay, wait, what is that a day? Let's go with the low number, right? 17,000 and divide that by 365. In Los Angeles, which is a big city, but still it's a city. 46 cars are stolen every day.
And keep in mind, West Hollywood, independent city, Burbank, independent city. When you add it all up for LA County, the number is going to be much larger than that.
That is so embarrassing.
I don't know. However, 85% are recovered, so we'll see.
Well, recovered and nothing's missing?
Yeah. In what condition are they recovered in?
Recovered and drivable?
How about recovered and stripped down?
that would be nice.
There you go. Muscle car gets slowly stolen out of a Studio City apartment garage.
And this is why we can't buy insurance. Because if the car gets stolen and the insurance company is on the hook, all they do is write checks in California. And it's so funny how the rates vary based on what zip code you're in. Have you ever moved and then you plug the new zip code in and there's a dramatic difference between the old zip code and the new zip code and it impacts your rates?
Let me just say that somebody, not me, but somebody that I knew, not me, told AAA that they lived in Valencia for way longer than they really did. But I can't tell you who that was.
When I moved from LA County to Riverside County and I changed the registration on my vehicle, it went down dramatically.
Not surprised. Riverside County doesn't have 46 cars stolen every day.
No. And that impacts your rates because they look at different factors. They look at your age. They look at your driving history. They look at your zip code. And if your zip code is one of these zip codes where cars get stolen all the time, they're going to charge you more than if you live in an area that has low crime. It directly impacts your bill.
So if that's the case, and we've heard this before from insurance adjusters, insurance companies, I remember when I had a red Honda CRV and my rates went up because apparently that was a very hot stolen car at the time. Don't know why. But Johnny, what do you think it's like if you own a Kia and you're trying to get insurance?
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, those cars, when they come off the factory floor, they have to know that they're going to be used as battering rams.
You got to pay quite a premium to be insured driving a car that can get hacked with a USB drive.
From what I understand, they fixed it in the new ones, but if you have an old Kia or an old Hyundai, good luck. That car will be going through the wall of a 7-Eleven in no time.